Hey everybody, it's Bruno on MB, part two. Now we're talking a little smash and crash, and from the heart. And I'm not just talking about football. And Ian Hill, how you doing, Ian? You got enough
I'm
courage to
doing
come
great.
back?
Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Well, let's get down to it. You broke two world records. One of them almost you said, but I think you did. No, sorry, I'm voting that you did. But so the first one, real brief on the first one. What was the
Sure.
first one, and then
I gave the world's longest speech, right? 51 and a half hours, and I spoke continuously. One line of consciousness, a true speech. And ironically, Bruno, it was to raise money to bring a bunch of kids from the United States to experience Canada and represent the United States at the Women's World Cup when it was here in Canada. And I knew for a fact many of these kids came from challenged circumstances. I knew for a fact if I could get them to Alberta, that their lives would be changed. And sure enough, we got them to Alberta, and they spent 2 weeks here competing with Albertan kids and kids from across Canada, and many of their lives were fundamentally changed forever because of their Canadian experience. But anyways, I gave it the world's longest speech to raise money to help get them here, and sure enough, Canadians poured out, turned up and turned out. People in Twillingate, Newfoundland, people in Lethbridge, Alberta, people in Stony Plain, people all across Canada contributed to bring these kids up here to compete, and it was an amazing, amazing thing. Well, the second world record, which your voting has been broken, but officially has not been broken, is to be the oldest man to play Division I college football, NCAA Division I college football down in the United States. It's a men's mental health initiative. It's to bring light to the alarming suicide rate amongst middle-aged men. Guys our age, Bruno, are 70% more likely to succumb to suicide than any other segment of the population. And so I wanted to do something to bring light to that alarming statistic. I wanted to do something to bring hope to those affected. And I wanted to prove that you can have mental health barriers and challenges and still do great things, because I have a mental health challenge. I am mentally ill. Some people have a bad knee. Some people have a bad back. Well, you know what? I have some mental challenges. I have a mental illness, if you will. But my mental illness doesn't mean I have a lack of mental capacity, a lack of mental capability, a lack of mental fortitude. It just means I got a challenge. And then you just got to navigate and manage it and work through it, just like if you had a bad knee.
Well, and it's interesting. That's how we met. In all seriousness, is that we mentioned that in the first program, is that Randy Chevry, the greatest long snapper in Canadian history, he should have been in the U.S. too, was training you, and at first glance you're like, what's this guy trying to do? Like, first of all, just he's gonna get killed. Like, football's a collision sport.
Yeah.
What is he trying to do? Like, what's he trying to prove? But then within 30 seconds of talking to you, find out it's not about long snapping. It's not about, oh, bringing back the bobblehead night, like, and go back to playing. This was a gift. I'm not that full of myself, but this was a gift, number 22. It's not about you playing football or baseball or impressing people. It's to tell people life's not over. Keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. Now you're taking a little bit more of a physically extreme example, but what's going to happen if you don't make the team? You're going to be in great shape. People are going to be following, right? So I think it's more the cause, correct?
Yeah, it is about the cause. It's about creating the dialogue, to be frank. I've had a chance to be all across Canada and the United States. And whether it's a guy working in the patch, or whether it's a guy on an assembly line floor in Oshawa, maybe he works for GM in Oshawa, or maybe he works up in the patch for somebody, or maybe he's working construction in Vancouver, or maybe he's a farmer, a beet farmer in southern Alberta. You know what? Those guys are succumbing to suicide at a greater rate than anybody else. And it's unacceptable. And one of the main reasons is because we're not talking about it. We haven't created space for men to talk about their struggle. I struggled. I had a successful company in Canada, a successful company in the United States. We had this nationwide, worldwide charity. We were getting all kinds of fancy awards. And I told my family I wanted to kill myself. I struggled. and I had nowhere to go, and I had no one to talk to. And I was so afraid that if everybody found out, that no one would want to talk to me or deal with me or do business with me. Well, that's not an acceptable environment nor culture at all. So, we as a society have to take a good hard look at that, and we have to ask ourselves, can we create space for men to have a dialogue? Can we then move men, make it safe enough for men to access the tools and the resources that are available? And can we teach mental strength, mental resiliency, and mental fortitude? And the answer is yes, we can. And then the next generation that's coming up, they'll have role models for them how they deal with mental challenges and mental barriers.
Well, what has been interesting about us connecting and talking about this and that, it's always, we've had a couple of meetings, just me and you and stuff, and I really appreciate it. When we are sitting down with somebody else, there have been women there, obviously, but they're men. I was really surprised at some of the people that were present, and you're saying, yeah, I'm trying to break the world record for long snapping playing NCAA one. And they're like, whatever. And they're like, this guy's crazy, right? And then all of a sudden you say, no, this is why I do it. And you start talking about men don't have an avenue, all the stuff you said. And I've been watching now, and they're like, it's almost like, you know what? You're onto something. It's, notwithstanding medical, I talk about like the silent killer. I think they say prostate cancer is a silent killer. I think mentally you're onto this, because that, in their eyes, I can see that they struggle with something. So that's the silent killer, because they don't talk about it with anybody.
Yeah, and I wonder, they say that in North America, now I don't have it broken up in the United States and Canada, 4,397 people a day attempt suicide. And that's reported. Can you imagine how many are not reported, right? And do you know that the majority of them are men?
Mm-hmm.
That if that's not an indicator that something's broken in our world, then I don't know what would be. So for me, I cannot stand idly by and watch as my fellow man is drowning. If you and I were down in Vegas and we were walking to go get a Mai Tai at some pool at the Rio, and we saw some guy drowning, we wouldn't be like, hey, good luck, bro. Hope you're okay. Hope you can get a counselor. Right. And keep walking to Mai Tai. No, we would be at minimum, we'd grab a chair and try to throw it out and have him grab it and pull it in, or we'd dive in the water. We would do something. So there has to be a sense of urgency. Too many Canadians don't want to live anymore. That's not a mental health issue. That's a societal issue. What's wrong with our society that people don't want to live in it? So my hope is that every person listening does what they can do. No, you can't maybe go play football to bring awareness, but could you check in with somebody, see how they're doing? They're going through a divorce. Maybe pick up the phone and just give them a call and say, how are you? Or invite them out to Timmy's for a double-double. How are you? Or that their business is struggling, emerging from the pandemic. So check in with that business guy. Or your neighbor, the guy who you never talked to. Maybe just roll over there and just see how he's doing. It is in those small acts that come at opportune times that we change the trajectory of people's lives. So, you don't have to go and do something crazy like, I got my Bruno helmet right here, right? I got my helmet right here.
That's Dominic's.
Right?
Actually, that's Dominic's helmet right there.
That's your son's helmet right there, right? Yeah. You don't have to go play college football. All you got to do? Care about your fellow man. It's that simple. And here's one last thing on this, Bruno. Your dad and your granddad and my granddad, they understood it. That's why they met for coffees on Fridays. Told their wives, kiss my ass, I'm going down with the boys. Because there was a connection there. There was a bond there. Or maybe they went down to the Elks Club or the Moose Lodge or the whatever, Muskrat Lodge, whatever the hell it was. we have moved away. We've so demonized the gathering of men that now men ain't got nobody to talk to. And I'm not saying all of those get-togethers were always a positive experience and it was kumbaya and all that. I'm not saying that. But there was a release valve. There was a place for a man to be able to share what the hell was going on inside of them. And we need to make that okay. And we need to check in with our fellow man. So even if you can't play football or you're going to go play, like you're going to go play for the Yankees now, even if you can't do that, we can all listen. We can all listen. We can all check in.
Well, it's interesting because when one of our meetings, there was a couple of women there, and when you left, they kind of said, it's not just men, it's women feel this way too. We don't have, and I was quick to say, I think so. I don't know. I'm not a woman, and I don't think Ian's long snapping to cure a women's problem. Like, number one thing, men never should ever talk about pregnancy, so we can't talk about that truthfully, right?
Right.
Now,
But
I'm just
studies show that women think about about suicide more, but men do it more.
that's
So
and I said I don't know if that's what it is, right? So
I would just say this. I would say that I think we can all agree that there's a low-level depression and anxiety throughout every community, throughout every sector and silo. And it's time to say enough. We've created a public discourse that is so argumentative, so toxic, that nobody can say anything today without being attacked by 100 different people. We can't align or coalesce around even the most basic of principles without your motives being called into question. We need to take the temperature down a little bit. We need to reach out to our fellow man a little bit. We need to find some common ground a little bit. And that's, to be frank, Bruno, that's one of the reasons why I'm excited about what you're doing with YYC Business and what you're doing across the country. You're bringing business people together. Business people from diverse backgrounds, talents, experience, interests. You're bringing them around a common goal. Let's build a thriving business community. That commonality of let's build a thriving business community, that creating of alignment amongst business leaders and business community members can then spill into the other aspects of our community. So, what you're doing with YYC and then into Edmonton and Vancouver, then eventually across the country, it can be a catalyst for bringing and aligning our communities, which desperately is needed today.
Thank you, Ian. And that's, you've started TV stations, and we'll talk about episode 3, and you're going to be on here a couple times, but it's, what we're trying to do is just highlight one business at a time. And that whole suicide prevention or awareness that you're talking about is kind of what we're doing, because a lot of people are going to turn off the TV completely on their business. People don't realize, unless you lived in Western Canada, the oil patch goes down, and then, the pandemic and all that. Small business, man, they were like, whoa, and it was a lot simpler for them to turn off the TV. And what we're trying to tell them is the same message as you. You're in life or death. We're in do or die, right? And it's like, hey, chill out, take a deep breath, just change the channel.
Yeah.
Like Bruce Springsteen said, 57 channels, something's on, not nothing's on. There's got to be something on. And if this moment, this minute, this day, this transaction, you didn't win the deal or something like that, there's, what? It's all good. Be good. Pay your bills. Don't be a prick. Pay your bills. We want to have only really good, honest business people working with us. And I can tell you, like, I was cursed with my mom's heart, and I got to toughen up too. It's like, you can't treat everybody the same in business. Sorry, I'm telling you that right now. You don't pay your bills, you're a piece of shit to me, right? You don't pay your bills, but you're not going to pay the bill, but you're going to screw me anyways, dude. That's the recipe for, that's not good. So, to be really honest with you, we're in the do or die business, and small business people across Canada need to know we have a platform. You know, you're not going to reach 400 trillion people. Guess what? You're not going to reach 400 trillion people. Just like we don't need to reach that many people in your initiative. Text
Yeah.
one person.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
hanging out with you yesterday, I actually texted a person and said, "Hey, by the way, I found this. You know, this guy's totally into what you're doing." And he's like, "Wow, I didn't. Okay, great. You know what? I need that. You need that. We all need that." And to that point, people need to get to know you through rapid fire. You ready to go?
Let's do it.
Okay. No thinking. Okay, I got the list here because I go all over the place. Favorite food?
New York State.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Gladiator. For now, right now. My favorite
Just right
movie.
now.
Yeah, just right now.
Favorite actor?
William Holden.
You told me what your favorite band is already. I was like, really? Hey, favorite band?
Favorite band? Styx.
Oh my God, bring on Tommy Shaw. Favorite song?
Favorite song? Shooting Star.
Okay, okay. I thought it was too much time on my hands by
No, no,
Styx,
no.
but
Yeah.
okay, this is a tough one for you. I know this, but favorite city that you've visited? I know you got at least two or
Sam's.
three.
I'll name a couple. So, uh, San Sebastian, Spain. San Sebastian is a beautiful place. It's where the Spaniards go to vacation. Twillingate, Newfoundland. There is no better place on the planet than
Okay.
Twillingate, Newfoundland. If you haven't been to Twillingate, get on a plane, get on a train, get on whatever ferry, get to Twillingate, Newfoundland. Go in the summer. I'll just say that. Go in the summer.
So you
Yeah.
so you're telling
And
us
then
to go down
finally,
there. You're telling us to go down there by.
yeah, that's right. Go down there, Mike. And then finally, Lake Tahoe, Nevada. No better
Oh,
place.
you
Lake
can't leave
Tahoe,
that one out,
Nevada.
right?
They can't
So
leave Lake.
okay, someplace you want to travel to that you haven't been to.
Place that I want to travel that I haven't been to. I want to go to Bora Bora, like the rest of the world eventually wants to go to Bora Bora. I got to go to Bora Bora. But you know what? I also want to go to Australia. I haven't been to Australia, so I'd love to see Australia.
So I heard this. I heard this at the Yankees camp when I was down there this winter, and it says if you're good on Earth when you pass away, unfortunately you go to heaven. If you're great, you go to Yankee Stadium. So one day we'll go to Yankee Stadium, you and me. All right?
There we go. We got to
Yeah.
go to Yankee Stadium. That's right.
So how about somebody that's alive right now that you would like to chit chat and talk to?
Malcolm Gladwell. I think he's brilliant. Love to have a dinner with Malcolm Gladwell, and his observations of life are. I don't agree with all of them, but
Mhm.
they're insightful, and I'd love to learn his life experiences that brought him to the place that he can think the way he thinks.
You know, he should no shit to Brian Cashman of the Yankees, but that guy is statistically solid, man. Like if you're into that Moneyball sabermetrics, he should be our general manager. But
For
yeah,
sure.
because his stats are crazy. How about somebody that has passed away that you would say, hey, I would love to talk to that guy or girl?
Pericles of Athens. So Athens was the greatest city-state in the history of mankind. So much of what we are today around the world in Western society came from Athens, from democracy to arts and culture to how we organize cities and communities today, all came from Athens. And he was the leader in what's called the Golden Age. And he only used the power of his voice. There was no political parties. There was no prime minister or president. There was none of that. And somehow he mobilized citizenry to build some of the greatest things that have ever been built. Look at the Parthenon, it still stands today. That was built by regular people, not master builders, because they loved their city. So, how was he able to elicit such pride and commitment to that city? You know,
Crazy.
every 18-year-old took an oath to leave Athens better than they found it. And they did.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'd love to have a supper over some Alberta beef with that guy at Chairman's. Hey,
There
don't
you
you owe
go.
me dinner? Hey, don't you owe me dinner?
I do.
Yeah, you're taking me to Chairman's. How's that? There you go.
Hey, everybody, you know why I owe him dinner? Because we recorded an episode and we're like, man, that was killer. That was awesome. I forgot to record it. So it was the best non-recorded episode I've ever had. But
For sure.
see, now I know you're Canadian because a little while back you said, we need to have a dialogue, maybe take them to Timmy's. I'm like, no, man, you got to go to Dunkin'. Meet him at Dunkin', man. They changed their name. It's
So
not
I am
Dunkin' Donuts
hey,
no more, right?
hey, look, when I'm across the board, when I'm in Canada, I'm having a doubles at Timmy's, man.
There you
I'm having
go.
a
There you go.
double at Timmy's.
Just stay away from the Justin Bieber Timbits. I never got that, but that's okay. Okay, so favorite sport.
Favorite sport to play, football. Favorite sport to watch, college basketball.
What's your favorite team in college basketball?
It always depends on. I love North Carolina, but ultimately, University of Nevada, Steve Alford, Coach
Yeah, there
Alford's
you go.
down there, and I love the Nevada Wolfpack.
Favorite athlete, alive or dead?
Favorite athlete, alive or dead, Kenny Stabler.
Snake played for my favorite team of all time, Houston Oilers, too.
Oh,
Remember
he did for a short period of time. You're right.
he got traded for Dan Pastrami.
His Hall of Fame career was etched at the Oakland Raider Alameda Stadium. But you're right, he did play for the Oilers.
Well, they traded him straight up for Dante Pastorini, and I was a big Earl Campbell's fan.
Who was with the Raiders for a cup of coffee, and then that was about it.
We got hurt, kind of like an Aaron Rodgers situation, right? So do you have a nickname at all?
You know what? I've never had a nickname. Ian Andrew Hill, which I don't look very Ian Andrew Hill-ish because I was adopted. But in high school, they called me the Hoopster because I was a basketball player, football player, track athlete. But they called me the Hoopster. So there you go. Hoopster was a nickname.
I'm going to give you another chance. Favorite band?
My favorite band is your band because
that's right.
Yeah, 100%. It's the greatest band in the history of Canada. Forget about Nickelback. Forget about Michael Bublé. Forget about Celine Dion, my friends. Bruno and his band are where it's at.
Hey, I'm going to tell you something right now. We're going to joke around, and I'm going to have this guy's been on my show before, and somebody was trying to tell me we're the best band ever that's never played live. So, but what's interesting, there was this guy, it's true, I have a witness, and he's kind of telling me, hey, if you go in the studio, you need to do this and you need to do that. And I got a great bass player, and I got a great bass player. My bass player is this, my bass player played here and there and there. And finally I turn around and go, did your bass player ever win 2 Grey Cups? No. So our bass player is better than yours. So that's the great Shreko Zizakovic from the Stampeders and also Ohio State. Great friend, fantastic bass player. So one day we'll play a couple of songs. But okay, so real quick, because you got to go. We got to get that shoulder set up, right?
Yeah,
so real quick, ask me one question, not too hard, IQ very low, but one question.
You know what? I've had now an opportunity to hang out with you and be with you and spend time with you. And the question I have that I think I would love to hear others experience, your passion for helping small business owners. And what many people may not know is that when oil and gas in Alberta and around the world was struggling, many of your clients you brought together to try to help them from a marketing standpoint, to help keep them alive, help keep them going, which is the beginning of YYC, to be frank.
Yep.
Where does that motivation to help your fellow business person come from, and why? I mean, you could have checked out a long time ago. You've been a successful businessman. Why do you continue on this journey to help small business and medium-sized businesses across Canada?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, we started off because I had a small business, and we tried to make a go of it. We did okay, and then all of a sudden, I mean, regionally, oil and gas went down. That means it's going to send some ripple effects, and that's how we started. And I just turned off my marketing, and I started figuring out some marketing, and it brought us to this journey. And we would have never met had I not said, let's pack it in and go do something else, try something else. But instead, it started working, it started inspiring some people. So really, I brought some people in, some of my clients. And why did I do it? I felt I had to give back. They were struggling. Hey, some of them were worth 10 million times more than what I'm worth, but it wasn't that. he was like, you know, one of my nicknames is Jerry. Jerry, I don't know what the hell, you know, you're on social media, you get leads, you get, you know, whatever. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. And I had some pretty good teachers. But what keeps me going is, you know what? I think I tried to make a difference with them. And then all of a sudden, it's not really the success that ultimately mattered, is I think people found that I actually gave a shit about them.
Mm,
And the
mm,
reason why I gave a shit about them, that's the gas factor, right? Um, is because they gave a shit about me. I came here
mm,
in this city. This is my adoptive city. I mean, I knew nobody. And not to be that dramatic. We have a good life, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I think that's what kept me going. And all of a sudden we helped change one company a little bit, and then the other company, and now we got this great production company called Enta Solutions. I don't own it. That's our partner. Um, Man, they're, I mean, you can't duplicate their energy. So
mm,
I think the two things is I want to give a shit about other people, small business, because they gave a shit about me.
mm.
And secondly, I kind of refuse to be around people that are going to be bringing the energy down, right? You give
Yeah,
or you suck it out. And
yeah.
those are the two things that keeps me going. And I'd be totally remiss if I didn't mention my three partners, Greg, Miranda, and Al. I don't know how they do it. They tough it out with me every day. And it's kind of like, you know, the light's too bright every day. And I really, really, really appreciate them for letting me play ball, right?
Yeah.
They don't call the pitches, they just say throw. And that's kind of how I deal with them. And yeah, some of them go in the dirt and some of them are fastballs, right? But that's what keeps me going is their energy and the energies of our production people. It's unbelievable. They're all cause driven because if
Mm.
small business goes down, we're done.
Yep.
So we can't allow to
Yep.
do that. It's impossible.
One of the reasons I'm so drawn to what you're doing, uh, not only in YYC Business, but eventually Edmonton and then Vancouver and across the rest of the country, is because you have a solution. You'll align business community, um, unlike any way that anyone else can, and
Mhm.
because of the genesis of it, this passion that you have, where people helped you and now you're helping people, and your commitment to the small business owner of Canada. I think that's something noble and special, but I also think it's what's needed today because as small business goes, so goes Canada.
Well, you know what? I usually don't take this long to answer the one question because some people say, who's your favorite interview and all that kind of stuff. But um, just to add to that is that you are in the life and death business of your suicide prevention, right?
Yeah,
Or awareness. And I said this twice now. We're in the do or die.
yeah.
And I think the biggest misconception is that in this case, come to YYC or Megapix or YOG or Ottawa or Regina or Saskatchewan or Saskatoon or one of our sites and oh, we're going to sell you the solution. No, sometimes I don't even know how I'm going to. I might not be able to help you, but to your point, we're building a community for nothing. And now, if I don't have a solution, we refer somebody to somebody, and 99.9999% of the time, we make nothing. Okay. And I got to tell you, great story. You know, I have a trainer now, uh, like great trainer. And she asked me, she took one of my, she worked with me on different things now. She's invited me to speak to a whole bunch of trainers because their number one problem is sales. Okay. And there's no way I would have done that and been privileged with that because of that, is that it's not me, it's a community. And if
Right.
one of them turns around and says, hey, it's not really sales, it's I'm suffering from depression. Okay, I'm not the guy, but we have somebody that you can talk to
Right.
for free, for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's similar to you. It's like we don't need to have a subscription at the pool where somebody's drowning, jump in. And so
Right.
that's what keeps me motivated is as soon as you kind of say, hey, whatever I got, I'll tell you. I mean, that's the whole network, right? So That's great.
Powerful.
I'm looking forward to you contributing some stuff over here because you're just as Canadian as Timmy's 2 and 2 here. So, anyways, Ian, you got a doctor's appointment, so get on it. We're going to be talking really shortly. Thank you very, very much, and good luck with the long snap.
Thank you. Hey, you know what? And congratulations on all the success. It's going to be a game changer for all of Canada. And thank you for having me on the show.
You got it. Thanks, Ian.